Well, hello, name's Tree Sap, and I'm here to talk about Black Myth Wukong. The trailer for this game, the first one at least, dropped around 4 or 5 years ago, and there was a lot of hype around it, mostly revolving around the visuals of the game, and they were impressive. They were impressive then, and they're impressive now. Actually having the game in my hand, it does look good. Another aspect that kind of piqued my interest was what it was based on, which was Journey to the West, which is a very popular piece of Chinese literature that you've probably know a little bit about. Maybe not because you read it, but because you've seen things inspired by it or things that reference it in some shape or form. One extremely popular example is Dragon Ball. Son Goku is based on Son Wukong, and if you go back to the original Dragon Ball, the Flying Nimbus and the Power Pole, both which have connections to Journey to the West, were prevalent parts of it. And I don't want to go on a tangent, even though I might do it anyway. If you haven't watched the original Dragon Ball, you should give it a check. Give it a quick watch, because it's really good. I know a lot of people love Z, and Z is amazing. It made the childhood for so many people, but watching the original Dragon Ball is a great experience in and of itself, and that's all I want to say. Maybe I'll talk about that more in a different video, but let's get back on to this fucking topic. So I was excited for this game. I didn't keep up with all the trailers. I'm not a person who watches every single trailer that comes out. Sometimes I just like to wait for the game to come out before I really digest anything. Sometimes I'll binge all the trailers right before, or I'll just watch none and just pick up the game and see what it's like. And that second one is what I did for this game. And there's also a benchmark tool that came out, useless, completely useless. Not a single person was helped by using that benchmark tool, because it would be good if this was a walking simulator, but this isn't. This is an action game, and a benchmark tool is meant to help you understand what exactly is going to be the requirements for this game, how well it's going to run on my PC, and that didn't do any of that. It showed some of the environment, it showed a sprinkle of enemies here and there, but they weren't really doing anything. They were sitting around, maybe walking, nothing that would really push anything on your rig. So sure, you can run 144 FPS at 4K in the benchmark, but when you actually get into the game, you're going to have a big problem, especially with all the extra effects from enemy attacks and your attacks and everything else. And an interesting thing was the game kind of ran like shit when I first played it, because it had me set on high, and while high would be fine in some areas, in this particular instance, in the first fight you have, it just wasn't working out well. The best sweet spot for me with what I was running with, and I'll give a quick rundown of my specs. I'm using a Ryzen 3900X, 12 cores, 24 threads, Radeon 6900 XT, 16 gigabytes of RAM in that card, and 32 gigabytes of system memory, and I ran this on SSD. Not the latest and greatest stuff, but it gets me where I need to be. You know, it allows me to play the games I want to play. And this game, I was able to run it relatively fine. You know, a mix of medium, some things in low, some things in high, mostly because there's always those useless things in the settings, no matter what game you play, that just seems to really, you look at the game and like, there's not a single visual difference between having this at low, medium, high, or just not even having it on at all. But they seem to just absorb so many system resources. It's always a terrible thing, and you should always make sure and look through that whenever you're playing a game. At least one if that has any amount of graphical intensity to it. But initially in the game, things were running like shit, like 30, sometimes below 30, when everything was set at high. And also the game crashed. It crashed after the fight. It didn't crash during the fight, but after it completely shit the bed. You know, my whole system just went boop. It wasn't even like the normal crash where it's just like, okay, we're gonna shut down real quick. No, this was complete just system said, fuck you, I'm going to sleep. And that happened every single time. And I thought maybe this is just my own rig, maybe some of my problem. But no, other people were having this issue, because I went on and looked at in the Steam community and where everybody was talking about it, and other people having this issue. So it wasn't just me. It wasn't a personal rig issue. You know, it's people with multiple different setups having the same similar issue. And luckily, a few weeks have passed and they have fixed that. At least they said they did in the patch. I've already made it too far through the game for that to even matter at this point. So yeah, hopefully if you're picking up the game now, you're not going to have that issue. And I did have maybe 3 other crashes, but they were just the normal ones where it's just the game shut down and said, oh, crash. Happened about 3 times through many hours of a playthrough, and had a few big frame rate drop, but for the most part I was able to get things running relatively smoothly. No ray tracing, did not use that. Ray tracing in most cases where I've used it has never really been worth the cost, and plus I play on Linux for one thing, so it really depends on the implementation if ray tracing even works. Sometimes even when I go in and I have to fix other things, because I've got it working on most games, and a lot of games it just works right out of the box, but that's another reason why I don't really always use it as well, along with the fact that it's really demanding on my system. But let's get past that. The visuals are great with the game. It looks beautiful even on the lower settings, and even without ray tracing it still looks beautiful. For some of you out there, you might be getting the full experience. Maybe you have a godlike PC, but that's not what I have at this moment. And the game looks good. Everything is fantastic. Every single element is crisp, it's clean, it's beautiful. There's nothing I can really say about this game when it comes to its visuals, because it does look great. Even if you're running on lower settings, it looks amazing. The design of the world is awesome. And that's really all, because visuals they're great. They're fine. They're something that people love and draws in attention. But what's the gameplay like? Because that's why I play video games. If I wanted to just look at something pretty, I can watch a movie, I can look at a painting. There's so many other avenues for just enjoying something for its visual appeal. The gameplay, I've heard some people compare it to like being a Souls-like, and I think I had to be specific about that. And you have to compare it to something like Sekiro, where you're kind of no custom character, you're playing as a single character, you have one weapon for the most part, and you have these other skills and abilities around it that really make it what it is. And it's all about mastering that weapon and the techniques and your general skill set. Sure, there are things that can help you do really cool stuff. Like in this game, there is magic, there's the ability to do transformations, there's spirits, which you can get from little mini bosses out in the world, and they give you stat increases by just having one of them equipped, and they even let you transform into that little mini boss for a particular attack or action to happen that may give you some more benefits. And it's kind of akin to your big transformation, though your big transformation turns you into like an actual genuine boss, like a very dangerous enemy that can really change the tide of battle. Sometimes I've had instances where using the transformation spell has helped me easily get to a fight with little to no trouble. And I can see the Souls elements that some people are talking about. One thing is just like you have a bonfire, except in this game it's a little shrine you go to, and it has that general feeling with just how you're navigating going through the world. But for the most part, it feels close to a lot of other action games. You can see Souls-like elements in there, but it's not really a Soul game in the biggest part. It's just a really good action game. And talking about the combat is fun. There's no parrying, which doesn't bother me because I don't really parry whatsoever, even in Souls games. I jump, I dodge, that's what I do. And you're largely going to be focusing on your dodges, either just regular dodging or perfect dodges, and you're going to be focused on mastering your staff and mastering the different little stances you can use, though the stances mostly involve what your combos and your heavy attacks do. Your main light attacks, they're really the same no matter what you're doing, but you could upgrade all that stuff because there is a skill tree. As you beat enemies, you gain XP, you level up, and you can put skill points in each one of your different stances, each one of your spells, each one of your base stats and base abilities and all that stuff to improve your character, unlock new combos, unlock new techniques. And luckily you can easily switch these out because there's only like 4 spell slots, so you can switch those out pretty easily just by going to a little shrine. You can easily get all your skill points back and change your build up, though by the end of the game you'll pretty much have everything you need. You'll have everything. There was a point in time where I was focused on certain things because I found that certain bosses using certain stances, using certain spells along with certain items and even certain spirits can really help you just breeze through it a lot easier than if you just try to power through it. Of course you can do it. It's really all about skill at the end of the day, but there are there are ways of making the game easier for you if you focus on using certain abilities against certain enemies, particularly bosses, though some of the enemies you'll encounter all throughout the world are hard to fight, especially those little mini bosses. Even regular enemies can beat your ass in a couple of hits, especially depending on what type of player you are, because some people are just going to try their best to find the boss, get to different parts of the game as quick as possible, and some people are going to look for every little thing. That's what I did. I looked for every single little thing I could find, look for every little side quest, little side mission, anything I could get my hands on, because I like to really invest everything into a game and find every little secret or extra little source of power I can find. And this game was a breath of fresh air. Jesus Christ, I can't talk. I'm sorry. I apologize. But this is probably called a Ramble review like a lot of my other stuff, so you should have expected it when you saw those words, I guess. Like I said, game, breath of fresh air. Yes, let's continue that sentence. It was really good. I haven't been playing a lot of action games in recent memory, so it's good. It's just super fun. It's just a fun game. Is it the best thing I've ever played? Probably not. I probably played better stuff, but it's been a while since I played something that was just consistently good all the way through. There was no real moments where I was like, oh, this is kind of bad. This is lackluster. There was a few annoying boss fights here and there because I breezed through most things in this game. It can be difficult, like I've said, but I breezed through most of the fight. I did get caught off guard by some enemies having some moves that I wasn't expecting. It kind of changed up the flow of things, and that was good. That's something I was happy about because I was like, okay, a real champ. This is what I'm talking about. And I did spend a few hours, probably not a few hours, maybe a few hours on a few bosses here and there where I just seemed to never get certain actions right. Maybe I was always dodging at the wrong time. Maybe I just wasn't playing that good. And sometimes it was just those moments where, you know what, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna go to fuck to sleep, wake up, and then at some point in that next day, I'm gonna beat this boss. And it usually played out well that way. So overall, wonderful game, not a disappointment in sight. Hopefully they fix some other stuff with the games, because I think there's still people having issues. I don't know how this game plays on console. I couldn't tell you whatsoever. Maybe it runs good, maybe it runs bad. That should depend on what console you're playing. Even though I don't know, is it only on PS5 right now? I'm not sure. I think there was a delay because, there's two different versions of the Xbox and one is underpowered. So it's always delays in that regard with some games. But yeah, this game was good. And if you go play it, I hope you enjoy it. And you know what? That's all I really got to say. I just want to kind of get those thoughts out of my head because they were just kind of banging around in there. Yeah, if you enjoyed this video, you can subscribe, you can unsubscribe, even though there's probably there's not really many of you subscribed in the first place. So hey, whatever. You can dislike it. Really do whatever you want. It's none of my fucking business. But yeah, thanks for watching, listening, and peace. I'm out.